Hi and welcome to the Beer Temple. I am Chris Quinn. Today I had recorded a show about this beer and I forgot to have the mic on, so I have to come down. The store is open. We're just a little too busy for me to be doing the normal kind of recording while the show is open. Good problem to have, still a problem. So I figured I'd come down here in the depths, a different part than I've done in the past without the background of the boxes, and it's a little bit more comfortable for me. And you can probably hear we're getting deliveries and stuff going on right above my head right now. But as always, you guys bear with me, and I appreciate it very much. And I appreciate it especially today because I am very excited about this beer. Obviously, we've already recorded this show. I've already had this beer, so I'm not going to be surprised when I have it. But this is a beer that I think I wanted to do a show on it because this beer has been getting a lot of press, but I think for all the wrong reasons. This is the Hop Hunter IPA from Sierra Nevada, and it has been in the press a lot because of the use of their font. They were sued by Lagunitas for the use of the IPA font. Look, I guess this one would be easier to show. The IPA font was too close to Lagunitas. There was a big backlash, and it was the case was dismissed or dropped rather. And you know, that's what everyone knows about this beer who know about it at all. But I think the much more interesting and much more important thing about this beer is that it's using distilled hop oils in it. And this is the first time that I know of, certainly on a commercial basis, that a brewery has used this distilled hop oil in a beer. Now, I've tried to look up a lot or something about this use of distilled hop oil, and for now anyway, Sierra Nevada is keeping it, you know, held pretty close to the chest, and I can understand they're not talking too much about it. But I think it's a really great innovation from Sierra Nevada, given that it does what they claim it will do. And I think it will, because I mean, a lot of people think of Sierra Nevada wrongly, I feel, as kind of a dinosaur, as one of the big old guard, but they really have been innovators since the get-go. I mean, they were using hops like Cascade that nobody wanted to because they didn't think it was good enough for brewing beer. They invented multiple styles. They invented the American Pale Ale, which led to the American IPA, which led to the American Double IPA. Speaking of the Double IPA, you know, they invented the American Barleywine, Bigfoot Barleywine, and that is a direct precursor to American Double IPAs as we know them, and as they never really existed before that. And at the time, it was just the biggest, hoppiest thing that anyone had ever seen. Now we're getting into, you know, hoppy beers in general, but also this wet hop, fresh hop thing was also pioneered, and basically as it exists today in the craft beer scene, invented by Sierra Nevada. They were the first to start making and certainly commercially producing in America these wet hop beers. Now, I'm not saying that there were no wet hop beers, but you know, they were the first, and now what they're trying to do here is kind of take that very fresh, bright, wet hop quality that you can get and kind of protract it out over the course of the year. I've said in the past that I feel the last true seasonal beer in brewing right now, and certainly in U.S. brewing, is the wet hop beer, the harvest ale. And the reason is because in the Northern Hemisphere, there is, you know, actually, around the world, there's only one harvest of hops per year. It's one season in general, you know, late summer, early fall in the Northern Hemisphere, which is about late August, September, and then the Southern Hemisphere, same time of year, or I'm sorry, different time of year, but same seasons. So what happens is, you know, these hops, they're you know, a perennial plant. They come up every year and they're harvested once a year, and they immediately need to be dried or kilned within, you know, about a day or so, or, you know, just like any other plant, it'll start to decompose, it'll start to rot. There's a lot of moisture in those hops, and you know, if you take out the moisture, you know, kiln it out, dry it out, they can be preserved for a year or so. But until then, you know, you have this wet hop that you can brew with, but it's a very limited time that you can use it. And that's why I feel, you know, it really only after being picked can you have a wet hop beer. They only pick these hops once a year, so Therefore, you can only have these beers once a year. So why am I talking about this? Well, one, because it's an innovation, and two, because it directly affects this distilled hop oil stuff. And what Sierra Nevada is doing is, the day that this stuff is being picked, they're taking all these wet hops and doing something called steam distilling them. And this is what I've looked into a little bit. There's not a lot of information out there. I did find that there was a patent for this process from the mid-60s. And assuming it's somewhat similar, it sounds pretty intriguing. The idea is to basically take some of these essential oils, these highly volatile oils that burn off and evaporate off in beer. And even if you're using them, you want some heat to kind of release them, but too much heat and they go away and they don't stay in suspension. They're, like I said, highly volatile. And essentially, if you could use everything that was there in the hop, basically people are losing so much they have to use 10 to 20 times the amount of hops that they normally would if they could harness all that was there, so to speak. So they're getting 80 to 90% loss of these oils. So that's why all these hops. So what they're doing, and I'm going on and on, but it's really an interesting process. They're basically boiling or steaming, they're steam distilling these hops to get the oils to go up, but it's in a contained unit, so they're all going up. And these oils are what give all the aroma and flavor of hops in a beer. It's not the IBUs, it's not the alpha acids that you may hear about. That's all bittering. These are the essential oils. Some of the famous ones are kind of myrcene is one that you kind of hear about a lot. And it's essentially, they are distilled out. So it's boiled up and then collected and then separated from the oil. So the hops are turned into hop extract. The extract is then distilled, and the oils are then skimmed, I think, off the top. The oils separate, and then the water is, I think, turned back around, and they do it again just to make sure that they're getting all the oils that might still be in solution. So they're essentially getting all or almost all of the aromatic and flavor capability from every hop. And the result is this incredibly potent oil that I've heard is highly caustic, so highly alkaline, so much so that you cannot touch it with your bare hands. It'll burn you, essentially. And diluted into something like this, that's totally fine. But wow, and the aroma jumps out of the bottle. So what they do then is essentially they have this oil then that has tons of flavor and aroma quality. There's no bitterness to it. It's just the hop flavor. And they add it back into the beer, I think, right at the end. So it's not touching. So again, it's contained in here. It's not going to touch a ton of heat or anything that'll make it come out of solution. And I think the oil itself, once it's distilled, is much more soluble than it was in its original form. So it holds on longer in the bottle. So you've got more concentrated flavor that sticks around a lot. I talk a lot about freshness, and the reason is because a lot of these hoppy beers, the aroma and flavor qualities of them dissipate so quickly. Now, what Sierra Nevada is saying, that these oils hold together much, much better. And hopefully that's true. And I mean, we're talking about a really cool innovation here. I mean, they're hoping to get this fresh hop flavor all year round now. And I think you get really wonderful hop flavor all year round, but I think if you could get it kind of condensed and to stick around a little bit better, that's an amazing thing. So, beautiful looking beer. It's an amazing thing if the beer tastes good. I've already done this show once, hint, hint. So, wonderful, super clear, golden color here. Nice sudsy head. And this beer smells like a hop. Like you just picked a hop off the vine and did kind of a rubbing. Maybe you've seen that in commercials or something where the guys are sticking their face into the hops, or if you've done it yourself. I mean, this is what it smells like. It's like a green citrus. It's like tangerines with some of the leaves kind of still stuck on the stem of it. So you're this intense green flavor and this really nice orangey citrus flavor as well. And a little bit of lemon and like grapefruit skin. just green hops. It smells lovely. Now, it's not an overwhelming smell. It's not one of those ones where you smell and you're like, oh my God, I'm getting smacked in the face, but it's certainly nice and present. And the quality of the aroma is amazing. Man, this beer, you still get a hint of that bready malt as a basis, just a little bit of like a light white toast, a hint of it. And the rest of your mouth is just filled with this orange blossom citrusy note. It's somewhat light. It's got a good amount of bitterness. It's 60 IBUs and fairly light. So it has a good amount of bitterness. This will go very well with food. It's very well on its own. It comes in a 6-pack, and this is certainly a 6-pack beer. It's you know, just over 6% alcohol as well. And I'll admit I'm a big fanboy of Sierra Nevada, and I'm a very big fan of this beer. This is a beer that I think if you are a hophead, if you are just a lover of, you know, not session IPAs, but just good drinkable IPAs, it's balanced, it's got wonderful hop flavor and aroma, but not to the detriment of the overall beer. If you want just a hop explosion in your mouth, those are fun to have from time to time, but I don't think, you know, it can be fatiguing. This doesn't do that. I've now had one of them before, and it's just a wonderful beer. I really cannot say enough about this really wonderful green orange flavor, and it's not an unripe orange, it's green and orange at the same time. Wonderful beer. I don't really rate the beers anymore by numbers, but if I did, I mean, this would be up there, guys. This is a really fun beer, a beer that I'm so happy that is going to be somewhat regular in terms of availability, and because it's Sierra Nevada, you can get it all over the place. So it's great to have these rare beers and these unique regional beers. I think that's a very important thing to have and a very fun thing to have for when you're visiting other places, but it's also nice that you can go to pretty much anywhere and potentially get this beer. And you know what? Hey, if it's a couple months old and it still can smell and taste like this, even better. I mean, what a great thing. I hope that that is the case. Time will tell. And, you know, let's just see years from now if this is just commonplace, that everybody's distilling it and then taking it to the next level, distilling these hop oils and stuff like that. So, hey, maybe the next big thing is right here in our glass. You guys should definitely go out, because I've got some great beer in my glass. And hopefully you do too. Guys, thanks so much. Cheers. And yeah, well, thanks for joining me down here in the basement for some wonderful beer. See ya.